And if you think about life, the beginning chapter and the end chapter has already been written. When you're born and when you die, that's up to God. That has been in the cards long before you were ever even thought about. But those middle chapters, those middle pages, that's up to you. And in the end, how's your story going to read? Is your story going to be one of triumph and victory? Because triumph and victory don't happen without multiple failures and falling on your face and pain. You know, leaders, I've heard the term multiple times, natural born leader. I don't agree with that. Leaders are, they are made through the inferno. Iron sharpens iron. Leaders fail multiple times and then they turn that failure into success. That's what leaders are. And so if the beginning and the end chapter of your book has already been written, it's up to you to fill in those middle pages. And in the end, how's your book going to read? That's on you and only you.
Welcome to today's Asset Mindset podcast. We have an extremely special guest, an amazing man, one of my fellow 7th group guys. So it's an honor to have him here. And I got to give a shout out to Red Empire. But I have Ryan Hendrickson, who is an amazing man, done so much. And a lot of people don't know he's served not just in the Army. He served in other places too, but he's most known for being an 18 Charlie or a Green Beret with 7 Special Forces Group. Ryan, it's a pleasure to have you here. Thank you for coming on the Asset Mindset. And why don't you tell people about yourself and what you got going on now?
Yeah, brother. No, I appreciate you having me on. It's good to see you again. And love what you're doing, man. Really do. So, retired out of 7th group in 2020. And did a couple years of government contracting in Afghanistan. Left Afghanistan July 2021, and then was kind of undecided what I wanted to do. Full-scale invasion of Ukraine kicked off. I headed over to Ukraine to work with some missionary organizations, evacuating women, children, and the elderly out of areas the Russians were coming into. And then as the Russians moved east, people started to come home, hit landmines. I started to put my 18 Charlie knowledge back into work again, helping clear landmines and explosive hazards in civilian areas. So, you know, they didn't have to worry about their next step or live in fear of the next step. And I decided to devote my life to hazardous, I guess you'd call it hazardous reduction in extreme environments and areas. And so I've been working in Ukraine. I have 11 missions over to Ukraine now, and it's all been for landmine removal. And that's what I'm doing now. And it was made possible because of all the experiences I had from 7 Special Forces Group as an 18 Charlie, 8 deployments to Afghanistan, and hundreds of IEDs and landmines removed. So I just decided to turn that into a humanitarian endeavor. And now that's what we've been doing in Ukraine.
Oh, that's amazing. I so support your work, as you know, but I want people, the listeners, they may just think of like, oh, landmines and military stuff. Can you explain how much it affects the civilian populace? And I think a lot of people would be surprised who more than 50% of the victims of a landmine are.
Yeah. So the problem with landmines is landmines are going to continue to injure and kill long after the last shot of the war is fired. And the majority of the victims are going to end up being civilian casualties, farmers, villagers, children, stuff like that. And so the use of landmines in war, although very effective, it creates a humanitarian crisis and a refugee crisis because a lot of people are not able to go back to their homes again because of mine contamination. And so now you're looking at internally displaced people, IDPs. You're looking at refugees that other countries have to bring in. So that's some of the global implications. The other global implications are the second and the third order of effects of landmines. And so when you look at Ukraine, for example, a lot of the farming areas are mined because these large farm fields, if you can drive a combine tractor over them, you can you can drive mechanized military equipment over them as well. And so, what landmines are for is terrain denial. I'm going to mine this entire area to deny you this terrain. And also in eastern Ukraine, the majority of the roadways are target reference points for artillery. And so, if you're going to use the roads now, you're going to be dialed in by either Ukrainian or Russian artillery. And if you're going to use the fields to avoid that, now you're going to deal with landmines. And so it's not there's a misconception that the Russians are targeting Ukrainian farmers, which is not the case. They are mining everything in order to create terrain denial. And the Ukrainians do the same thing. And it's very effective. The problem is after the last shot is fired, the cleanup from all that. And there are international rules that regulate the use of landmines in warfare, but we all know not everybody follows those rules. And so the second and third order of effects with these farm fields being mined is the fact that now grain production, agricultural exports from Ukraine to countries that in some instances depend on Ukrainian agricultural exports for their very survivability, like in Africa, that is now been stopped or greatly limited because of landmines. And so you're looking at the uses of landmines for war, and now all of a sudden the second and third order of effects for it has global implications.
Yeah, that's incredible. And I love when we were in Dallas at your gala, man, which was an awesome event. Anybody that didn't get to go next year, you got to look for the Tip of the Spear Landmine Removal Gala event. It's awesome. Black tie event, amazing people. But you shared something that I think was very powerful, an analogy or just a story similar to that. You know, if we have a hurricane or a tornado comes through here and rips through areas, well, you look at a war zone, looks very similar. But what do you get to do after a tornado or a hurricane here? People come together and they rebuild. You can't just go back to an area that's mined and rebuild. So I think people need to understand that aspect as well. And I don't know if you want to share any more on that or.
Yeah. Another effect of, mining or landmine usage in war is the reconstruction efforts after the war. And so before Reconstruction can even start, you have to be able to clear those areas of explosive hazards and landmines. And Ukraine, as we know right now, is the most mined country in the world. Well, something else that a lot of people don't take into account is there's more unexploded ordnance in Ukraine than there are landmines. And so now you also have landmines, and now you have the UXO problem. And it's just it's an extremely contaminated area. So, for instance, 175,000 kilometers of Ukraine is considered contaminated. And to give reference to that, that is roughly the size of Florida. Or you can take England, Wales, Scotland, Ireland, and it's still bigger than all those put together. That's the contamination area in Ukraine right now. And I'm not saying that that's all mined, but it's all contaminated because that's where conflict has been. So there's going to be UXOs, there's going to be landmines, there's going to be any number of things that are going to inhibit reconstruction, agricultural revitalization, all the way down to civilians going back to their homes to rebuild. So unlike a natural disaster, wildfires, tornadoes, hurricanes, when the area is safe and the state authorities lift the ban on people coming back in, people will come back and they'll see what's left and start to rebuild their lives again and their support for rebuilding and all kinds of other things like that. That's not necessarily the case in Ukraine. Sometimes people are looking at 10 plus years to be able to go back to their home or the areas that they used to live because of landmines. And I get another question quite a bit. Well, why isn't the Ukrainian government doing more about it? Well, it's because they're fighting a war. And so right now, the priority for Ukraine is to, defeat the invader, the aggressor, which in this case is the Russian Federation. So if you're taking that into account, that's the reason why nonprofits like ours, Tip of the Spear landmine removal, or other organizations are over there and able to do the work that we're doing, is because Ukraine is busy with other things currently right now, and that's what's also causing um, the long delays in people being able to go back to their villages and homes again, is because there's just not enough manpower to address the world's largest minefield, and that's Ukraine.
Yeah, crazy. It's incredible. And
Mhm.
hats off to you, brother, all the work you're doing. I want to get now into your mind a little bit as
Mhm.
far as, in my book, I talk about, hey, your mind's your greatest weapon, or, you're your greatest asset. You
Yep.
obviously have firsthand experience getting blown up
Mhm.
and dealing with that. Can you share some of the story on how mentally, because obviously you were a victim of an IED and stepping
Mhm.
on, a landmine, so to speak.
Mhm.
So, how were you able to turn things around? Like, how can listeners learn from your story and your mind?
Yeah, it is definitely it was definitely a long road, and it wasn't. There were more failures than successes. That's absolutely the truth. Um, and I did. Mentally, I had a very, very tough time. I struggled greatly mentally in the beginning. But so September 12th, 2010, I stepped on an IED while we were conducting a clearance of the Chutu River Valley, basically bordering Aruzgan and Helmand province. And once I finally got back to the States, it almost took my life. I had expired twice at the first roll facility that I made it to from blood loss, and just a bunch of other complications that went along with it. But when I finally made it back to the States, and 28 surgeries later, now it's time to start to do this rehabilitation. And mentally, I was in a very bad place. Not only because I felt like I had let my team down by stepping on, the IED,
Mm-hmm.
and I felt that my entire life, here's Ryan Hendrickson, U.S. Army Green Beret, and now what am I? I'm laying in a hospital bed. My life has changed forever. I don't know what tomorrow's gonna bring. I'm going through this extensive limb salvage process because when I got blown up, um, they were trying to save more limbs than just hacking limbs off, and so I was kind of a pilot program or a test subject for this limb salvage, because my leg was going to be the worst one that they were going to try to salvage, and the percent of it working was, I was given 10 to 15%. And if it doesn't work, it's not a big deal. You just chop it off, get a prosthetic limb, and you're on your way. And so, I agreed to go through the program because it would enhance medical technology and help other people. But this entire time, I'm battling these demons inside of failure, and I'm battling, this victimized mindset where, I an entitlement mindset where I felt like I deserved something for what I perceived that I've done. Like, look at what I've done for you. I'm owed, and then victimization is impossible to fill. You can't fill that victimized void in yourself. And so victimization turns into, or I'm sorry, entitlement. You can't fill that entitled void in yourself. Entitlement turns into victimization. And then from victimization, it's a really bad spiral down. And so now I'm laying in a hospital bed. I have no purpose. I'm an entitled, wounded guy that is victimized by my own circumstances. This is all self-induced. Um, and my dad had a talk with me, and he basically he said, you're at a crossroad right now in your life. And he said there's two directions you can take. The first direction is you can continue to let this injury take you over. you can continue to be a victim of this injury, and you'll never leave September 12th, 2010. You will always be victimized by it. And what's going to happen is you're going to demand that people understand what you went through. And it's impossible. Even if they were there, they're not you. And so you're going to demand that people understand and sympathize with what you went through. And then when you don't get that, you're going to start to push people away because they don't understand. That's the victimized part of it. And you're going to seclude yourself. And then you're going to go to something to numb your mind, numb the thoughts, numb the pain, numb the depression that you're in. And then from there, he said, that's what that a lot of that is what adds to the 22 a day with veteran suicide. And he said, I'm very scared for that because I don't think you have the power not to blow your own brains out. I was like, okay. He said, or you can use this situation for what it is. It's painful. You're in a dark spot right now, but let's be realistic. This isn't the worst injury that's ever happened. It's not going to be the last injury that ever happens. And reality check for you, you're not the most important person here. You know, you need to get over yourself. You are so entitled by what you think you deserve because you think you're something that you're not. He said, you need to get over yourself and you need to take control over this. Use this situation, use this experience to make yourself stronger, but don't do it for you. Make yourself stronger to help other people. He said, you're not going to understand what I'm talking about right now because of the pain and everything else that's going on. But if you use this situation to make yourself stronger to help other people, I promise you, you are going to see God's work in this sometime in the future. You will see how you can use this pain and this experience that you have to help other people. And when you become an old man and you're sitting back and you're looking at how you lived your life and the major things that happened to you in your life, you have two things that are going to happen. You're either going to be ashamed of how you dealt with September 12th, 2010, or you're going to be proud of how you dealt with that day because you used it to make yourself stronger to help other people. And so that started me on the path of mentally healing. And no, I didn't pop out of bed and like a Baptist preacher, put a snake in my face and rub my head and said, you're good. And I'm jumping around and everything's good. It doesn't work that way. This is life. Yeah. I mean, you get this great victory and this moral boost and life's like, watch this, and knocks you down again. You're going to continue to get knocked down because that's what life does. And life isn't fair, and life can oftentimes be ugly. But once you accept that, life becomes a lot easier. And it becomes a lot more clear to you because you're not due anything. You know that nobody owes you shit. They just don't. And you're not the most important person in the world. Other people, they have lives to live, families to feed, things to do. You are not on the top of their list. Okay? So get over yourself. Quit thinking you're owed something. And use this experience, this golden experience you got. Not a lot of people get a second chance at life after an injury like this. Mm-hmm. Use this and go out and make a difference in the world for the better. And again, as I was laying there, listening to him, obviously, I mean, I still remember the conversation. And so it had a great impact on me, but I didn't realize how much what my dad said was actually going to come true until I started working in Ukraine.
Wow. That's powerful stuff, Ryan. And I love how you acknowledge, like, a lot of people want to just talk like, oh, everything's great. You do this, you do that, you focus on. No, the struggle is real for everybody. It doesn't matter what stage, season you are in life, you're going to struggle. But do you want to let the struggle define you and own you and continue to be a victim? Or do you want to move on and just, hey, that happened in my story, but that's not my story. And I think that's one of the things we have in common that we're trying to share and empower people is that, yeah, you're going to have rainy, stormy, shitty days in life. But you know what? Drive on. Focus on the positive. Do the best you can. And if you serve others, man, there's some powerful stuff out there. and
Mhm.
you are doing it. And for anybody out there, you want to know more about Ryan, please check him out. Hit pause, go in the description, check out Tip of the Spear, get the book. I got it right up here. And I do. And thank you, by the way, for sending a copy to my mother. That was so special, who's no longer with us. But man, she told me, she's like, your friend Ryan, I told him there was a problem with the book and he just sent me another one and signed it. And I was like, so yeah, thank you for that. Again, I think I might have already said it, but I could never thank you enough because that was for my mom. So anyway,
Oh,
love you, mom.
we're family, man. We're family. That's what family does.
Yeah.
So
But
back to what you were saying a second ago, one thing I do want the listeners to understand is as dark as the times are and as bad as your situation may seem, time keeps time keeps moving on. It really does. You can't stop time. And and how you deal with those situations, how you deal with the moment that you're in, as dark and as painful as it may be, there's one thing that is guaranteed in life. You're going to reach a point in your life, usually when you're older, that you're sitting back and you're reflecting on everything you did. And you will have to answer for how you handled or acted in certain situations or experiences. And those answers could be extremely painful, or it could bring you joy and you can be proud of yourself, fulfilled and content. And so when I'm faced with situations that I just feel is just like, why is this happening to me? Poor me. Go down the list of everything. That is so easy because victimization is it's easy, it's comfortable. And we kind of celebrate it as a nation now, unfortunately. But turn on the news and tell me what you think. But you are going to have there you cannot avoid it. There will be a time in your life where you will reflect back on how you handled life altering situations. And I just, ask the listeners, don't allow yourself to look back and be ashamed of yourself. Take control. Understand that time doesn't stop. This situation will pass. It's guaranteed, regardless of how painful it is. It will pass. But how you deal with it, that'll stick with you forever. Guaranteed.
no, powerful stuff, Ryan. Super powerful. And that's why you're on here to share those powerful messages. I was just with Brandon Webb on another podcast,
Uh-huh.
and we talked about being the 80-year-old man looking back or looking at things, with your life. Like, oh, I
Yep.
have this problem now, or oh, whatever. When you're 80 years old, are you going to care about your kids made a mess on the floor? Or are you going
Mm-mm.
to miss your young child running around? Or
Yep.
whatever it may be, oh, something went wrong in business or your car broke down. When you're
Uh-huh.
80, you're not going to care about, oh, your car broke down or you got a flat tire on the way to work. So don't
Uh-huh.
let those little things in your life bog you down.
Yeah.
Focus on positive things. Find things that are going to make you smile, not things that are going to drag you down or trigger you. We don't want to get triggered over
Yeah.
stupid stuff. You need
Uh-huh.
passion and purpose. And if you build those things, man, I mean, how much better is your life with passion and purpose?
Purpose is everything. I think I think one of the biggest contributors to the mental health crisis, especially in veterans, is the lack of purpose, the lack of service. And so without purpose, you're just left, right, lefting through life. And life is living you. Life is controlling you. All you're doing is just moving on. Wake up, eat, do whatever you do, sleep, repeat. That's all you're doing in life without purpose. You have to find something that you're passionate about, um, and make that your purpose. And there's something extremely powerful about helping other people. Um, there are very few people in life. I don't know any, but there are very few people in life that have ever gone through life not needing anyone, not helping anyone, and feeling that joy and what that does for you as a human being. I believe human beings are geared to be servants to each other, to help each other. You look at the military, you look at our first responders, police officers, and everything like that. We're all servants of something bigger than ourselves. Well, in the military, for example, our service to the country and the life and liberty that we cherish so much and defend, including to die for, is that's a kind of service that when you finish in the military, it's very hard to get that kind of purpose back. And so you have to find something that you're passionate about and something that can really make a difference in helping other people. Because if you look at the military veterans, specifically, if you're looking at that, we've spent our entire careers serving others. That's what we do. We serve in the defense of the United States of America. We're serving the population. You're a servant. And so to try to find something you're passionate about that doesn't equal service to others is very difficult, because you've spent your time in the military of service. And so that's what I like to tell a lot of veterans is like, find a way to help, find a way to help people, find a way to make this world just a little bit better place than when you came in. And I mean, that's essentially what we're doing in Afghanistan, or I'm sorry, in Ukraine. Afghanistan may come later on, but we gotta,
Yeah.
the security situation needs to improve a little bit before we go over there and start removing IEDs and landmines. But that's essentially what we're doing. It's a life of service. And the reason why it speaks to so many veterans is because of the level we used to work at. Well, now instead of pulling triggers, we're pulling landmines, and we're saving lives and limbs. People are able to go back to their homes again without fear of their next step. People are able to start to rebuild after losing everything. And that also does something else for veterans, because now you're seeing war on a level that we don't necessarily see it at, and that's the humanitarian level. Now we're starting to see, because as war fighters, we're really good at creating the humanitarian crisis. And I don't mean that in a negative way. It's just that's the way war is. Homes get destroyed, people's lives change. That's war. But to be able to come in and work as a humanitarian on the other side of war that we haven't really experienced a lot of as war fighters, it's extremely powerful. And that really is the purpose behind it, and the sense of service and giving back to something that's bigger than yourself. I mean, that's what it's all about. And that's what veterans need. You got to have that purpose that's bigger than yourself. And it usually revolves around helping other people, because we're all servants. We signed up for it. Regardless of what you think in the military, you're a servant.
No, absolutely. And I agree with that wholeheartedly. I think that's one of the problems, and I talk about it in my book or other people I'm working with, is you need to find your next mission. Like, you're used to getting orders, or, hey, my team's doing this, or I need to do that, and we're deploying here. You get out and you had this nice, chain of command that gave you purpose. Well, guess what?
Yep.
Now you're your own commander. So people need to take charge and figure out what their next mission is. Because when you go from doing, I mean, heck, look at the old First Blood Rambo movie. He talks about that. I used to be, I was in charge of millions of dollars equipment. Now I can't even get a job. Like, they've been highlighting that stuff for a while. And I just wish people would realize that they can give themselves a mission. They can find it. And if you're sitting at home, guess what? It's not going to happen. You need to get out there. Go to a church, go to an organization, go to the VFW, go to your kid's school, volunteer somewhere. Just get out of the house and start interacting. And, God's got a plan. It's out there. But if you're just sitting on your, pity stool, poor me, well, you're never going to get anywhere. And you don't want to do like Ryan said and look back on your life and be like, that's what I did.
Yep. And that is something, unfortunately, that a lot of veterans are facing right now. And it's the hard truth. It's not. This isn't Teletubby hug a bear time. The hard truth is a lot of veterans are victimizing themselves. It's
Mhm.
self-induced victimization from an entitlement standpoint of what you think you are owed. And it is so much worse after the withdrawal from Afghanistan because of how it went down. I went down this road as well in 2021 until I went to Ukraine. What was it for? What was the bloodshed for? What was, putting
Mhm.
buddies on helicopters for their last flights home? What was this all about? Why? How come this happens? That's not up to you. That's up to higher levels that you cannot affect. There's nothing you can do about it. It happened. This
Mhm.
is how it happened. And a lot of veterans, unfortunately, they are still victimizing themselves because of how Afghanistan happened and ended. And I'm not saying that there's not a right to have grievances. I'm not saying that there's not a right to have opinions on how effed up the whole situation was, because Lord knows, whew, I do.
Yeah. Yeah.
But if you allow that to control you, if you allow those mindsets to become you and that entitlement to take you over, there is nothing that is going to fill that entitlement void, especially with Afghanistan. It is impossible. You will become a victim. And we do have a victimization crisis in our country right now, which, in my humble opinion, is directly leading to the amounts of suicides that we have, is because um, you're not getting that entitlement void filled. That victimization, it is a dangerous, dangerous mindset because um, you will see no options as a victim. You will feel owed. You will feel cheated. You will feel like you're not getting what you deserve. And then there's going to come a point in time when enough is going to be enough. And we've seen it already. A lot of veterans have chosen, you know what? This isn't worth it, because a lot of these mindsets, and I do understand traumatic incidents. I do understand, PTS and PTSD. I got all that, but you have control of yourself. This is your life, not somebody else's life. And another problem a lot of veterans are having is they want somebody else to fix them. And the VA is really good at pushing out drugs. You know what I mean? Like, oh, you're
Oh yeah.
having these issues? Here's pills. Pills mask and make the situation worse. It doesn't help you. It makes the situation worse. You have to take control over your own life. You have to take your life back. You have to be the commander of your life. And you have to live life, not let life live you. And that's one of the biggest issues we're having, in my opinion, in the veteran community right now, is we do have a rightful grievance about how things happen in Afghanistan and also in Iraq, but it's becoming who you are, and it's consuming you, and it's ruining you because you won't take control over your own life. And
Yeah. You
that's what
can't move
veterans,
past it. They're having a
yep,
hard time moving past it.
that's what veterans have to do. You have to take control. If you can take control, you don't forget about it. It's not something that's like, oh, okay, well, I just want all this to be like it never happened. It's impossible. Take control over it. Take control over your life. Find out how you can make yourself stronger to help other people. And then you're going to slowly start to heal mentally, because you are. You're doing the ultimate mental health um, workout, and that's helping other people. It really is. But before you can help anybody else, you have to help yourself. You're a liability until you can help yourself. And that's what we need to get control over. That's what programs like what we're doing and a lot of other amazing organizations are doing, is helping veterans take control over their lives again. But the
Mhm.
problem is, it's not easy. It is extremely hard. Easy is entitlement and victimization. Simple. It is extremely hard to take control over your life. And that's where veterans need avenues that they can do this. They need ways of bettering themselves or volunteering or even doing their own thing, starting up something that will help other people, starting up something that's going to give them that purpose, that service, that drive that makes the world a little bit better place. Then you're going to look back and you're like, wow, this has been amazing, because you're going to see the positive impacts of what you've done. Or you can get to a certain age where you look back, like you're saying, the 80-year-old man, and you may be ashamed because you're looking back on all the negative and the tornado-sized path of destruction you caused. It's up to you, but there will be a time when you will have to reflect on how you acted and how you took charge or did not.
No,
It's
absolutely.
that simple.
It is. And it's simple, but it's hard. And if you're someone out there that's stuck in the victim mentality, please understand nobody can get you out but yourself. Like, you are a victim. Okay. We'll honor that. Bad things happen. Shit happens. But guess what? You're the only one that can keep yourself a victim. If somebody victimized you, or hell, what you went through, Ryan, stepping on the IED, yeah, you were a victim of an IED attack. You know what? Does that define you right now in this moment? No, you're doing something else now and moved on. That was an event that happened. So whatever thing that's happening in your life right now, audience, realize that thing, that victimization that's happening or happened, is going to be gone tomorrow unless you hold on to it. Stop holding on to it. You need to learn to let go. And like Ryan and I are talking about, find your passion and your purpose.
But the biggest thing is use these experiences, use this pain. Pain is the greatest teacher. Holy cow. It is the most amazing teacher in the world, but use these experiences, use this pain, use whatever you are going through right now. Use this as a tool to make yourself stronger, to help other people. You can always find lessons in every single thing in life. I don't care if it's slamming your fingers in a car door to, stepping on an IED. Like, there's lessons in everything in life. And if your mind is correct, and if you are living a life of service, and you have that purpose of helping other people, then you're going to use these experiences to figure out how to make yourself stronger, to continue helping, or to better what you're doing. Because that's what life's all about, right? It's about failing flat, fall flat on your face, failing, getting back up, learning from those failures, coming back and succeeding, trying things, risking, taking risks, jumping into the unknown. That's what life's all about. Because without that, it's just left, right, left through life.
Yeah.
And
everything's a risk. People, don't realize that when you don't do something, you're risking your future. When you do something, you're risking, maybe it'll be successful. Maybe I'll fail. Who knows? But no matter what, you got to do something. You have to act. You have to be moving forward. You have to have purpose. And any of those bad things like Ryan's talking about, let that be fuel. Let that fan the fire in you. Take that anger, twist it into purpose.
Yeah, failure is a taboo word. People look at failure as a negative, but that's because you don't understand how to use failure. If you know how to use failure, then failure is the greatest tool. I forgot who said it. It could have been Steve Jobs or somebody else with more money than God. But they basically said, I have failed more times than I've succeeded. I've fallen flat on my face so many times and had to pick myself up off the ground more times than I can count. Way more times than I was walking without falling on my face. But every single one of those failures, I used it as a tool to make myself better. And then all of a sudden, you start to get successes. And now, look at what a lot of these people that have failed so many times in their lives and came back and just owned it because they used failure properly. Failure is an amazing tool. It's a lot of people hate that word, especially in the military. You know, failure is bad word in the military, but if used properly, it's the greatest tool in the world. It really is. Well, that and pain.
Yeah.
Pain is a great
First
tool.
attempt in learning, right? Fail. That's one of the acronyms they use. First attempt in learning. When you fail,
Yep.
you will learn
If
from
if
that.
you use it properly. If you don't, then you're going to be a victim of your failure,
Yeah.
and you'll never go anywhere.
Yeah, Ben Franklin pretty much said the same thing when he was doing the light bulb. They're like, "You've tried like 1,000 times. Why don't you give up?" Well, I've learned 1,000 things that
Yeah.
don't work as a light bulb.
Yeah.
You know, like
Yeah.
you learn, and you know what? He figured it out eventually. You know, and
Yep.
I love to go to the sports analogies too.
Mhm.
Like, all right, how many shots does a hockey player take to get in the net? You know, or shots on goal, and you might win by 2. You
Mhm.
know, or baseball player, you have a 400 batting average. That's insane. 300's good. Well, that means they only got 3 hits out of 10 tries. Like they're
Mhm.
still striking out or getting out, even the best ones.
Mhm.
So don't worry about your failures. You know, use them as stepping stones, move ahead. You can do it. And I mean, Ryan, you are a testimony to all of that. And I'm so honored to call you my brother. Honored to have you here. Honored to spend time with you and just support the work you're doing.
Mhm.
Very grateful. The world's lucky to have men like you. People say, you know, oh, I served and I walked among giants. That is absolutely how I feel. Like you, Nick Lavery, other guys on my
Mhm.
team that have done amazing things. Like I've looked to my left and right, and I just want to say I'm proud of you, man. Keep it up.
I appreciate
And
that.
you know, you're doing great things. So before we really slow down and wind things out, please share with me a good story that you had an epiphany from when you were like a kid or something happened in your life that really started to trigger, hey, how I think and interpret things is how it affects my life.
Well, I mean, I got the greatest advice given to me from the greatest man I've ever. Well, he's still alive, so I have ever known and still know, and it's my dad. And so in 1996, before I was joining the military, I know I look like I'm about 25, but I did join the military in 96. So 1996, before I joined the military, my dad, you know, we were having conversations, and he was excited because I was gonna, you know, get out, see the world, and I was scared. And he said, "Look, let me have a talk with you." He said, "So there's 2 old men that are sitting in their rocking chairs, and they're waiting on death." And he said, "The first old man is miserable because he let life pass him by. He did nothing with his life. He never tried anything that he could fail at. He never risked anything. He never stepped out of his comfort zone. He didn't do anything that would be uncomfortable for him or could result in failure. He always lived on the safe path. And outsiders looking in, they could say, "Oh wow, this guy has everything together. He's done it all. Look, he's, you know, got money, nice house, and all this other stuff." But the old man is miserable because he let life pass him by, and now his final days are filled with regret. And I wish I would have. I wish I would have at least tried. I mean, that's how I got to Ukraine in the first place. But I'll tell you that in a second. The second old man, the second old man was content. He was happy. He was fulfilled. And it's because he's done everything there was to do possible for his life. He's failed multiple times. He's succeeded some. He's taken chances. He's risked it all. He's done everything there was that he could possibly do. And as I said earlier, time keeps ticking on. You can't stop time. And so now he's an old man and he's reflecting back on everything and he's happy. He's fulfilled and he's content. My dad said, "Which old man do you want to be?" He said, don't ever pass up an opportunity to do something. Don't ever pass up the chance to fail or to be great. He said, "Do it all. Don't worry about it because time keeps ticking on and you are going to have to reflect back on everything you did in your life or everything you did not do in your life. And he said, that's a death sentence. He said, do it all. Who cares about failure? Learn from it and keep moving on. And so that has guided a lot of my life and decisions that I've made in my life, like 3 branches of the service, other things. But just recently, in full-scale invasion of Ukraine kicks off February 24th, 2022. And I'm sitting glued to my TV, probably like a lot of the listeners were as well. And I'm watching the full-scale invasion unfold. And I keep having this nagging feeling in my chest. I wonder if there's something that I could do. I wonder if there's a way that I can help. No, Ryan. It's a war. It's Ukraine. It's like, where? Eastern Europe? Like, no. Just get real. You're good. You have a contracting job. You're making really, really good money. No. But this nagging feeling wouldn't let me go. It wouldn't let me sleep. It wouldn't leave me at peace because there's something that I can be doing over there. And that nagging feeling is something all Green Berets have. It's called De Oppresso Liber, to free the oppressed. And finally, I just made up my mind. I was like, you know what? If I don't go, I'll never know. And if I don't know, that's because I didn't go, and that's on me. And I'm going to have to answer for that at some point in my life. And so I did. I had an amazing job as a contractor, making really good money, and I quit. And I went over to Ukraine as a volunteer and started evacuating women and children, which turned out to doing what we are right now with landmine removal in civilian areas, humanitarian landmine removal. And I will know when I'm sitting on my rocking chair and life is, I'm waiting on death. I will know that I did it. I will have no regrets. I went to Ukraine. I risked everything. I took the chance. I accepted that this is probably this could end in failure. I did all that, but I didn't let any of that hold me back. And like you're an author. I'm an author. Well, I don't know if I'm an author, but we both wrote books. And if you think about life, the beginning chapter and the end chapter has already been written. When you're born and when you die, that's up to God. That has been in the cards long before you were ever even thought about. But those middle chapters, those middle pages, that's up to you. And in the end, how's your story going to read? Is your story going to be one of triumph and victory? Because triumph and victory don't happen without multiple failures and falling on your face and pain. Leaders, I've heard the term multiple times, natural born leader. I don't agree with that. Leaders they are made through the inferno. Iron sharpens iron. Leaders fail multiple times and then they turn that failure into success. That's what leaders are. And so if the beginning and the end chapter of your book has already been written, it's up to you to fill in those middle pages. And in the end, how's your book going to read? That's on you and only you.
No, great analogy, brother. Great analogy. Because it's you're speaking the truth, man. And people need to hear the truth. They need to understand you need to take ownership of your life. You're your own author. Like Ryan saying, for your book, whatever your name is, guess what? That's your book. And whatever career, job, things you do, places you live, you want to go see, guess what? You're where you're at because of your choices, your decisions, your habits, your work. But the great thing is you can change every one of those things. You're a creator. That you create your life. You're creating your story. So get out there and do it. Just please realize that. Listen to Ryan, listen to me, listen to anybody else, but understand you are your greatest asset. You need to take control and own your life. And once you start doing that, and then you surround yourself with good people and you become an asset to others, you have passion and purpose like Ryan's doing, your life will be a completely different life. Would you ever imagined you're where you're at right now, Ryan?
No, no,
Yeah,
no, never.
me either. But you get out there, you jump into the fire, you get burned a little bit, but you get hardened. You get burned a little bit, you get hardened. Just keep pushing forward. You can do it. Ryan, is there anything else you want to leave the listeners or you'd like to share or where they can get a hold of you?
Yeah, I mean, we are at landmineremoval.org, and that has all of my social media platforms and everything like that, and pretty easy to find. Pretty easy to find on the internet. So, but yeah, just remember, there's gonna come a day when you are gonna have to reflect back on what you did or didn't do. Don't allow yourself to be ashamed. Take control. It's just never too late. Take control and be that person be that book that you want to read in the end.
Absolutely. Amen, brother. Well, thank you for listening to the Asset Mindset podcast. Please share this with people that need to hear it because there's a lot of powerful messages here. I hope you got a lot from it. Don't forget to like and subscribe and have a wonderful day. God bless. Own your power.